day, viewers. My name is Eunice Ogorotimi. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Justice for You, brought to you by Edward Foundation. At Edward Foundation, we render free legal representation to indigent inmates and those that have been wrongfully incarcerated. Today, I have here with me Mrs. Oluyemi Orija. You are welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us again.
My pleasure.
So today we'll be continuing on our previous episode on the legal implication of domestic violence. In our last episode, we were talking on on making reports where a victim has been domestically violated. So, are we now saying that making reports is sufficient?
Well, no, I won't say that's it. That's not. It's like a means to an end, you know. So the first thing is, after the entire violence thing, it has happened, and as a victim, the next thing, of course, is to make report. And I think in our last episode, I talked about, I mentioned the places where we can make report: the police station, the various local governments, human rights centers, welfare organizations, NGOs, and all that. So it is one thing to make that report. It is another thing to follow up on the report. So when a report is made, whichever of any of these organizations that you must have reported to, they are definitely going to take a step. So taking that step, you as the victim must be there to provide evidence, to give them information where needed. You know, so it is not just about reporting and going to bed. No, we have to follow it through. Sometimes these cases get to court, and victims, you know, I really don't like to say victim, but but it is what it is at the end of the day. So you have to, they have to be in court, they have to testify against the perpetrator. That is the only way that the perpetrator can be brought to book. Without that, the man will leave, or the perpetrator will, do this, and when nothing is done to him, he moves on to the next person. And that way, we are not going to curb these menace. So it is important that we do not just make the report and go. We have to help these organizations to achieve what we need to achieve. That is by clearing our society of all this. And importantly, perpetrators have to know that, it's not just, don't just think you can do these things and go scot-free. But if there is no example, let me put it that way, if people are not saying that perpetrators are being punished, perpetrators are being dealt with, I believe that it will continue. But when we use people as scapegoats, society will see that, okay, there's actually a fine for doing this thing. Yes. And that way we will help ourselves to, it will be easier for us. And the only way, like I said, the victim themselves must be available to put through and help organizations put through in the course of achieving justice.
So what do you also have to say concerning women who insist on patching things up with their husband despite the constant abuses they face?
You know, one thing in our organization, of course, we also help victims of domestic violence. We refer them to the appropriate organization that can help them get justice. And in my experience as a lawyer over the years, I realized that this decision is not easy to make, because at the end of the day, domestic violence, the perpetrators are the persons you once professed love to. They are father of your children, mother of your children, so emotions are attached. No matter how bad the situation might look, there are still emotions underneath, right? People still feel something for themselves. So it's really, really hard. So I understand perfectly when victims find it hard to make report or to leave, or to sometimes they are bold enough to make the report. Maybe after some people must have counsel, they are bold enough to come out and make report, but they are not ready to follow it through, and that is the problem that NGOs face. So in a year, you can see reports of domestic violence about 200, and the only ones that gets to court or that eventually push through to the end, maybe it's 5. The ratio is that bad. So at the end of the day, I really do not feel it's an easy decision, but at the end of the day, your life comes first. So as a victim, what I'd say is, if you're in any relationship that is not giving you that positivity, you know, that is not adding value to your life, that is not you're not fulfilling your dreams, you're not getting anything, any advantage other than being beaten. I mean, being beaten can lead to you taking your life. It can lead to you losing your life. It can lead to the other person committing murder. It can lead to a whole lot of things. It can lead to psychological damage. It can lead to a lot of things. So when you consider these things and you put a value to your life, and you see that, okay, there's so lot of people, there's so many people that still loves me, notwithstanding that I'm going through this, and I wouldn't want to put them in pain, and I wouldn't, you know, when you weigh all these options, you realize that the best bet is just to leave. So I understand that it's hard, but we have to summon the courage to do the needful. So I don't advise anybody to stay in an abusive relationship, and I believe that if you are in anybody listening to us in any abusive relationship, please, whatever that is not adding value to you, there's no point being there. So summon the courage that you have to, garner the determination you need, and put yourself together, and you know, look at the better side of the situation and just take the necessary step. That's just all I can say.
Alright, Mark. So under our laws, what are the penalties for persons found guilty of domestic violence?
Okay, I know that VAP Act, that's Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, that act specifically says that 2 years should be penalty for a perpetrator of domestic violence, whether, like we said in the beginning, whether it is physical, whether it is psychological, whichever way this violence has been meted out to the victim, the penalty for it is 2 years. But you know, I'm not sure whether we stated this at the beginning, that VAP Act is only applicable to federal courts and not all the states. Like this, the law was passed by the National Assembly, and that makes it a federal law. And for it to be applicable in every other state, we must domesticate it. So if it has not been domesticated, I mean, it then means that it's not applicable in that state. And for what I know, about 9 states out of 36 have only domesticated that law. But aside VAP Act, criminal code also made provision for this offense. And if you look at it, it's an assault. So if you are beating somebody, you are assaulting the person. And if you check criminal code from section 357 downwards, it talks about assault in various forms. And it also laid down penalties for perpetrators of this act, and it ranges from 2 years and above, and also fine, you know. So there are penalties, and people should be aware that there are penalties. And importantly, I have to also state that we as an organization whereby we represent indigent inmates in prison, we've gone to prison severally, and we've met people in prison for this act. So to some people, it is still like, okay, it's just a theory. It is not impractical. Like, how many people have they jailed? I want to say it now that people are being jailed for this act. People are in prison languishing right now because they're beating their wives. You know, so it is not something that is abstract. It is very practical. We are seeing it every day as lawyers. We see it in court. We see cases in court, and we see people languishing in prison for this act. So I would just say, for everybody, we have to be mindful of how we treat other people, so that we don't find ourselves in this situation.
So can you also tell us the rate or the ratio of victims of domestic violence?
Wow. you know, it's hard to say because people don't report. It is when we don't know what is happening in various houses, right? So it is until people come out to report, that is the only time we can say, okay, 30%, 40%, we can put a number to it. But as it is, Nigerians don't have data, and aside that we do not have data, people don't report. And people don't report because of stigmatization. People are not reporting because of so many reasons, right? So, but there is a statistic by, I think it's UN, that says in every 3 women, there is 1 victim of domestic violence. And that makes it very close to us. I mean, if 3 of us are sitting and if you can estimate that 1 of us might be a victim of it, it then means this thing is very, very close to us. So there is no accurate figure anywhere, but that's the statistic of the UN.
Alright, thank you very much, ma'am.
My pleasure.
Can you also give us your final words on the topic?
Well, my final word, I'd say we have to be mindful of how we treat people. Life does not revolve around you alone, you know. So in being who we are, we have to be cautious of the fact that people's emotions are at stake, people's life are at stake. So domestic violence is real. People are going through it, but I encourage anybody listening and that is experiencing or that knows somebody that is experiencing, they need all the support they can get. So we have to give them all that support, and we have to also encourage them to make report and be available to see the report through. And that's the only time we can clear domestic violence out of our society. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, ma'am. So glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
Alright, that'll be all for today. Thank you to our viewers. Thanks for your constant support. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and also click on the subscribe button. Thank you.